You finally sit down. No meeting, no message, no urgent task, and for once, nobody seems to need you. But your body does not relax. A few quiet minutes pass and a strange question appears. Should I be doing something right now? Should I be using this time better? You're tired, but resting somehow feels suspicious, almost like you're getting away with something. And that uncomfortable feeling is the heart of today's question. Why do you feel guilty for resting? Maybe you open a book, but your mind keeps listing unfinished tasks in the background. Maybe you lie on the couch, but instead of feeling peaceful, you feel wasteful. Maybe you take one quiet afternoon, and a part of you starts whispering that you are falling behind. Many people call this an inability to relax, but that may be too simple. One possible explanation is that your brain has learned to treat rest as a loss of safety. In this video, we will use a simple phrase for that pattern: the productivity alarm. The productivity alarm is not a clinical diagnosis, and it is not an official psychology term. It is a gentle explanation for the moment your mind panics when you stop producing. It is the inner alarm that says your worth, safety, or approval might be dropping because you are not doing enough. For some people, this alarm begins long before adulthood. It can grow in homes where praise mostly came after achievement, helpfulness, obedience, or emotional control. It can grow in classrooms where being good meant being productive, quiet, prepared, and never too much trouble. It can grow in workplaces where exhaustion is treated like proof of commitment. Over time, your nervous system may start connecting activity with safety. Being busy can feel responsible, useful, and protected. Being still can feel exposed, uncertain, or strangely wrong. This does not mean you are weak, dramatic, or broken. It may mean your mind learned an old rule: if I am useful, I am safer. That rule can become so familiar that you stop hearing it as a rule. It simply feels like reality. You may wake up on a free morning and immediately scan for something you should improve. The room may be quiet, but your mind begins searching for unfinished chores, unread messages, future problems, or missed opportunities. Even when nothing is urgent, your body may behave as if something is about to go wrong. This is how the productivity alarm turns peace into pressure. A calm day becomes a performance review. A quiet hour becomes evidence that you are not trying hard enough. A moment of rest becomes a courtroom where you have to defend your right to stop. Psychology often describes how repeated experiences can become internal rules. If love, approval, or safety often arrived after performance, the brain may begin to expect that pattern. You do not have to consciously believe your worth depends on productivity for your body to react that way. Sometimes the body learns before the mind has words for it. This is why logical reminders do not always work. You can tell yourself, "I deserve rest," and still feel a tightness in your chest. You can finish a long list of tasks and still feel behind. You can receive reassurance from others and still feel like you have not earned a break. The productivity alarm is not asking whether you're actually safe. It is asking whether you're still following the old rule. And the old rule may be simple: keep moving, keep proving, keep earning your place. Another reason rest can feel uncomfortable is cognitive load. When your mind carries too many unfinished tasks, those tasks do not disappear when you sit down. They remain open in the background, quietly asking for attention. So when you finally rest, your brain may use the empty space to replay everything you have postponed. This can make stillness feel louder than busyness. During a busy day, movement can work almost like emotional noise. It covers fatigue, loneliness, resentment, uncertainty, and sadness. But when the noise lowers, those feelings may rise to the surface. So some people are not avoiding rest because they love working. They are avoiding the feelings that rest allows them to hear. This is a very human response. If stillness has often brought uncomfortable emotions, your mind may learn to stay occupied. Productivity becomes more than productivity. It becomes a way to avoid uncertainty, manage shame, and create a temporary sense of control. This is why guilt after resting can appear even when you have done enough. The alarm is not measuring your effort accurately. It is reacting to the absence of effort. To the alarm, stopping can feel like danger. Even if your real life is not in danger at all, this is the strange reversal at the center of the pattern. You may not feel guilty because you are lazy. You may feel guilty because you have spent too long believing effort is the price of being acceptable. The cost of this pattern is quiet, but it is heavy. You may stop trusting your body when it asks for rest. You may treat tiredness like a personal failure instead of a signal. You may feel ashamed for needing the same recovery that every human nervous system needs. Eventually, rest becomes something you must earn, not something you are allowed to need. And because life never becomes perfectly finished, rest keeps getting delayed. There is always one more thing to answer: fix, clean, plan, prove, or improve. The list becomes endless, and your permission to rest moves farther away. But your body cannot live forever on postponed recovery. At some point, the system that helped you survive pressure begins creating more pressure. So how do you begin to soften the productivity alarm? Not by forcing yourself to relax perfectly. For a tense nervous system, that can become another performance. Instead, the first step is simply naming what is happening. When guilt appears during rest, you might gently say, "This is my productivity alarm." It is not necessarily telling me the truth. It is telling me an old safety story. Naming the alarm creates a little distance between you and the feeling. You are no longer inside the guilt without language. You are watching a pattern begin. The second step is to redefine rest. Rest is not a reward for being impressive. Rest is regulation. It helps your attention, memory, emotions, body, and relationships return to a steadier place. You do not rest because you have become worthy. You rest because you are human. The third step is to practice rest in small doses. Not an entire day of forced peace. Just a few minutes where nothing needs to be optimized. Drinking water without checking your phone. Walking without turning it into a productivity podcast. Sitting before bed without solving tomorrow in advance. These small moments teach the body a new message. I can pause, and the world does not collapse. I can stop producing, and I do not disappear. I can be quiet, and I'm still allowed to exist. The fourth step is to listen for the sentence under the guilt. Guilt often has a hidden script. It may say, "I'm falling behind." It may say, "People will be disappointed." It may say, "I have not done enough to deserve this." When you find the sentence, you can begin to question it gently. Is this true right now, or is this an old rule speaking? Would I say this to someone I love who was exhausted? What would change if rest was not laziness, but maintenance? These questions do not erase the alarm instantly, but they begin to loosen its authority. The fifth step is repetition. Your body may need many small experiences of safe rest before it believes them. This is not a failure. It is how learning often works. A nervous system that learned pressure slowly may also learn peace slowly. You are not behind because rest feels difficult. You are noticing the place where your old survival strategy meets your present life, and that noticing matters. Maybe rest has felt guilty because it was never presented to you as normal. Maybe you learned that being easy to love meant being easy to praise. Maybe you learned to earn space by being useful. Maybe you learned to stay ahead because falling behind once felt unsafe. None of this means you are doomed to live inside that alarm forever. It means there is a pattern, and patterns can be softened. Not overnight, and not through shame, through repeated moments of permission, through gentler rules, through learning that your value does not vanish when your output stops. Real maturity is not constant efficiency. Real discipline is not constant tension. Sometimes the deeper growth is being able to sit in quiet without rushing to justify your existence. You do not have to turn every minute into evidence that you are trying. You do not have to mistake exhaustion for laziness. You may simply be someone who went too long without permission to stop. If rest makes you guilty, that is not proof that you are failing. It may be an old alarm still trying to protect you in an outdated way. You can thank it for helping you survive certain seasons. And you can also begin to tell it, softly, "I do not need to keep running to be safe." You are not valuable because you're always producing. You are allowed to rest before everything is finished. You are allowed to be cared for before you are impressive. You are allowed to exist quietly, without turning your life into a constant performance.